I'm back down in my dad's shop to get some redemption on Sweet Pea. That's right, we're gonna get the brakes done on this truck, hopefully get the carb installed and take this thing for a spin. Now the last time we worked on this truck, it gave us all kinds of trouble. Dad and I were riding the struggle bus pretty darn hard. We had the wrong parts up front, we couldn't get the drums off, it was just an utter nightmare. Now, I've gone ahead and I've ordered the parts that we needed that we didn't have before. Also, I bought a couple tools that are gonna help us with the back brake drums. I'm not fighting those the way that we fought the front. I've already gone ahead and I've done the passenger side just to make sure we had everything we needed. We put all new hoses on the front. The brake lines actually look pretty good up there, but we're putting new hoses on, new hardware. We're gonna use the old drums for now. We did beat the ever-living tar out of those drums trying to get them off the truck. We're not taking this thing out on the highway. This is just so we can move it around Dad's property for the short term. The long-term plans, we're gonna be clipping the front of this truck and putting a Crown Vic front end on it. So we're not going too nuts here. We went with cheap brake parts. We're not spending the $250 per drum on the front. We're just getting it back together so we can move it around the property, maybe cruising around town once or twice. That said, the backside, I cracked open one of the drums on the backside. All the hardware in there looked fantastic. The wheel cylinders were intact and not leaking. I'm half tempted to not even touch those. The bigger issue is that the hard lines are just completely shot from the drums all the way up to the front of the truck. So we're gonna at least put in new hard lines. I've got a replacement rubber line for the back as well. We're gonna replace all that and see if we can't make the old brake parts work on this truck. Let's jump right into it. The first thing I wanna show you is the greatest tool that's ever been invented. This is a 10-ton 3-jaw hydraulic puller. I think this is the greatest tool ever invented by mankind. I'm not lying, guys. We fought the front drum so hard on this truck. I already popped the other one off, and it was ridiculous how easy it was to get the other back drum off. I wish I would have bought this before we ever even attempted to take those fronts off. If you work on any amount of drum brakes, I mean, if you are working on old vehicles and you're dealing with drum brakes, buy this. It's like $89.99 at Harbor Freight. It is the greatest tool ever. I'm gonna demonstrate it now for you and show you how easy it is to get these drums off the back of this truck. Now, I have been soaking this in penetrating oil, but the thing is, I haven't done anything else to this. I haven't touched it with a hammer. I haven't done anything. Literally, the tires came off, sprayed a little coil around the axle flange there. So that's it. I'm gonna get you set up on the tripod. We're gonna pull this drum off real quick. Okay, this thing is super heavy. So that does make it a little bit difficult to, I don't want to say difficult, but it makes it a little bit challenging to get it into place. But once you've got it into place, what I found the easiest thing to do is you take 2 of the jaws and you get them kind of on the top, kind of hang this thing by the drum on the top. Now, I released my jack already, so I can see that we're a ways out. So before I get too crazy here, I'm going to put a good number of pumps in the jack here. Just going to tighten that up a little bit. So now the point of that goes right in to the center of your axle there. And now look at that. So once I'm actually a little bit closer here, I've just got each jaw on the back side of the drum. I'm going to pull the front side around and we're just a hair off. So I'm going to loosen my ram up and bring this in just a touch and then close it off. And then I'll see if I can fit the jaw on the back side yet. Yeah, there we go. So now I've got all 3 jaws. You want to make sure you're not on the backing plate. You want to make sure you're on the drum. And now I'm just going to put a couple pumps in to tighten it up. Okay, I've just got it snug. The one annoying thing is this didn't come with a jack handle. That's probably my only complaint about this. Okay, watch this, guys. This is incredible. We're just going to put a couple pumps in this thing. Boom, 2 pumps, like 2 or 3 pumps, and it popped that baby right off. Greatest tool ever. Well, we weren't quite as lucky on this side. So we got the old shoes ripped off there, and our adjusters were completely loose in this thing, just rattling around in there. So I can see my adjusters completely rounded over. I don't have a replacement. We're gonna have to try and make this thing work. Again, this is gonna be temporary. So you can see the star drive's worn completely away on this adjuster. That star drive's important because that's what clips in the safety latch so the brakes can't back out and become unadjusted on you. Because this is temporary, we're gonna make this work. We're gonna put it all back together for now, make it work. And somewhere down the line when we do a C-notch and we put the rear end over the top of the leaf springs, we will definitely be upgrading these rear brakes. What I'd like to have is disc brakes on all four corners, and I'm gonna try and do that as cheap as we possibly can. So stay tuned for that down the road. But the first thing I wanna do, I wanted to just show you guys getting the drum off. I actually wanna go finish up the front brakes first. I've got the passenger side done already. I've not touched anything on the back on either side yet. So I wanna go ahead and finish off the front. Then we'll come back to the back and then we'll run ourselves some brake lines and get the brakes all bled. All right, the first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm actually gonna snap a picture of the drums. I've got the other side assembled already. I know how this goes back together, but I wanna have a picture just in case for some reason I get a brain fart, I get something wrong, I wanna have a picture just for reference. So I recommend that anytime you're doing drum brakes, you don't strip both sides down at the same time. That way you can have one side that's a reference and then the side you're working on. In this case, because I've already put the drum and the wheel back on that side, I'm just gonna snap a picture, same difference. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start stripping down the hardware here. So first thing, I'm gonna pop this adjuster out. We're gonna have to modify the new shoes to accept this adjuster bracket. I'll show you guys that in a minute. We want to hold on to those rods in this hardware. That's important. So when you're using these pliers, you'll notice one end is open and has this little lip on it. That is for releasing these springs, right? So you stick this over the stud, you rotate that little lip over the spring, boom, spring comes off. Super easy, guys. The pins in this setup are, it's not the standard kind of spring and cup style retainers. This is like a clip style retainer here. These are really rotted out. They're not, obviously, this side's already gone. This side is just about failed. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull that out and push the pin out the back side. The adjuster spring, we'll pop that off next. I'm just gonna grab a pair of channel locks for that. We're gonna hold on to that too. Gonna pop our adjuster off of here. Ooh, our adjuster is rusted on the shoe here. There she goes. I'm gonna save that. Shoe's garbage. Save that bracket. That shoe's. Now the other thing is we've got the other end of our adjuster rusted onto the shoe here, and then I also need this clip off this shoe as well. So we'll have to get those removed. All right, I'm gonna set that aside for a moment. We'll come back to that. All right, now the next thing I want to do here, I want to go ahead and get this hose, this brake hose, pulled off and replaced. The front brakes were working, so their hoses are probably okay. This one's better than the other side was, and then it's got some flexibility still in it. The other one was rock hard. So, but the thing is, they're cheap. I went ahead and ordered them. I've got them here. So as long as I can break the connection loose on the other side of the frame, as long as that comes out without any problem, we'll go ahead and replace this brake hose. If it does give me problems, I might skimp on this. I just don't want to have to rerun a bunch of brake lines that are unnecessary. So let's go ahead, get under the truck and see if we can get this brake line broken loose. All right, you can see right here, that's the fitting for the hose. It's actually a T intersection there. I'm imagining one side runs around to the passenger side drum, and the other side runs up to our master cylinder. So I'm gonna put a ratchet on there, and we gotta hold the other side to keep the line from spinning, and see if we can get this thing to break free. Now we'll see if I have the right hose, because I was not aware that there was a T up here. I just ordered what it said was a driver's side hose off of, where'd I get these from? Rock Auto. Got these from Rock Auto. Now there will be a copper washer on each side of that. I want to make sure we account for both of those. I got the one on the front side. There's the copper washer on the back side. Now you may or may not be able to see behind that T is a bulkhead fitting for the hose. So I'm going to try and slide a wrench in there and see if we can't get that broken free. Okay, good. I got a wrench on there. Let's see if I can't break this free. Oh yeah, it's already loose. Perfect. Let's see if it can turn it by hand. So there's gonna be a nut and a washer there. Nut and a washer. Pull those out. Now the hose is loose from the frame. Okay, this is our new hose, and this is the banjo bolt that came out of that that came out of that junction. So I just want to confirm that it is the same thread pitch and the right size, and it is. That's good. Okay, so we'll replace this hose. I want to get the wheel cylinder broke loose, and we'll just pull the old hose and wheel cylinder off all at once. All right, there's two little bolts, one up here and one right here that hold this wheel cylinder in. I'm gonna go ahead and pull those out and see if we can't break this thing loose. Okay, there's one bolt. And the second one. Okay. This wheel cylinder should be loose now. There it goes. Pop that out, pull the hose out with it. That's garbage. All right, now that I've got all the hardware stripped off the backing plate, I'm gonna hit this with the wire wheel. Just clean it up really good, spray it down with some brake clean, and just get ready, get a nice clean base to reinstall the new hardware on. The backing plate's all cleaned up here. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little grease, just a little dab of grease on our slide tabs here where the shoes are gonna slide on the backing plate. Okay, got those greased up. All right, I'm gonna get rid of all these dirty rags and start fresh with some clean ones here and bring our clean parts over. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the hose on our wheel cylinder. We'll do that first. And then we got to clean up some of the old hardware. Once this is on the truck mounted back to the backing plate, I'll get in there and I'll tighten it up again. Okay, I'm going to feed our hose through here. Okay, I'm going to grab our little bolts. Get those started. Okay. I just got a Scotch-Brite pad on the die grinder here. Just gonna clean up all these old parts. These are the pins out of the wheel cylinder. It's really important to get these cleaned up really nicely. So there is one difference that we ran into between the old shoe and the new shoe, and that has to do with the linkage that holds the retainer, the adjustment retainer in place. So it keeps the adjustment from spinning backwards, loosening up the shoes, and you losing brakes. This bracket screws into this shoe right here, just like this. And it has to go with the linkages towards the shoe pad. That way this bracket can cam on this bolt. The hole here is too close. It's not, and it's in the wrong spot. And that doesn't allow this bracket to cam. You can see that there. So what I did on the other side is I made myself up this little template. And you can see if I put this template here and I line it up basically here and here, then our hole lines up with where, so stick this underneath, you can see there our hole lines up where that mount goes, that hole for that mount goes. So what I'm trying to line up here is where the wheel cylinder push rods mount into the shoe. Basically where the push rod touches here and the template touch should line my hole up. So I bring this over here, I line that spot up with this shoe, and what you'll see is you don't see any yellow paint down through that hole. If I put it on the top side and line it up, it ends up about right there, and you look through, there's no hole there. So I'm gonna hold this template in place, I'm gonna mark this hole, and we're gonna drill this hole out so that we can then mount this assembly back onto this shoe. Center punch that. Now we're going to take this over the drill press and drill it out. Okay, and there's one last change that has to be made. If you look on this adjuster, this slides in nice into the old shoe. Now I've already trimmed this one down to fit so that you can see here the adjuster slides in, but I haven't taken quite enough off this one yet because you can see in there the adjuster doesn't go all the way back into the brake shoe. We need to make sure that we've got full range of motion, so I'm going to take a die grinder to this portion here of the shoe, and then let me grab the other side. You can see on this side the adjuster doesn't fit. So basically the backing plate of this is a little bit thicker than the original, so we'll just modify this with the die grinder and take a little bit of material off, just enough so that we can get the adjuster to the tongue of that adjuster to slide all the way in there. Okay, see now that fits nice in there. It goes all the way back to the back of the shoe. It engages all the way, so that's perfect. So make sure it works for both sides there, and it does. Okay, we're going to repeat the same thing on this shoe. Okay, very nice. Still a little tight. I'm going to take just a little bit more off around the very edge here. That's better. All right, assembly time. All right, time to start assembling here. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try and get one side. I'm gonna try and get the pins set on one side here. Now the springs and cup style are much easier to use than this clip style. I'm not a big fan of these. It's kind of annoying. Okay, so I got my pin pushed through. Now, the best way that I found to do these is to take a pair of channel locks, yeesh. Okay, just about lost my eyeballs. I'm gonna flip this over so I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I think it'll hold for a second while I regroup here. But it's not fully seated yet, so you just wanna make sure you get your pin fully seated, turn 90 degrees. I'm losing it. Son of a gun. What happened there? Gosh, see, you can see why this is a pain to try and get these on with one set of hands. Okay, I got it partially started. Regroup here. So I'm gonna grab onto the pin first. Then pinch. Shoot. Come on. Turn. There we go. Woo. Not as easy as it should be, but we got it. Okay, we're gonna try and do the second one. For this one, I'm gonna remove these rods because they're gonna get in the way. I see why they went away from this style of retainer. It's pretty awful. Ouch. Just my finger, don't worry about it. Son of a bitch. Really trying my patience right now. Oh, come on. My pin fell out. So the thing that's frustrating about these international trucks is the parts are really hard to come by for the brakes. And I actually got a brake hardware kit, but it's got the wrong pins and retainers and springs in it. It's got the cup and spring style, and I was really excited because I thought, oh, great, this will be really nice. But they're way too long. They're not even close to the right size. So I had to go back to this clip style retainer. One thing I'll be very excited to do with this truck is to get rid of all the international brake parts. They're crazy expensive. I've not had a good experience with fitment issues. The kits don't seem to fit. This is not going well. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, come on. I've had it. I friggin' had it. I had it and it pulled back right back out. Oh, I'm friggin' frustrated. This shouldn't take this long. No. Push the pin back out. I'm gonna have to walk away from this. I'm getting way too frustrated. Why are you making this harder than it has to be? Oh my God. Oh, finally. Whew, goodness gracious. That was ridiculous. Whew, goodness. Thing gave me a run for my money. So I started putting this adjuster in. I'll show you, I actually put it in backwards. It's not a big deal, but this is supposed to ride on the star drive of this adjuster so that it can only turn directionally one way, and then this holds it, clicks it into place. And the reason for that is the adjustment, it'll only go the direction of spreading the pads. To loosen the pads, you have to hold this out away from the star drive and rotate this back. And the reason for that is as you're driving down the road, you don't want this to rattle loose, draw the pads together, and then when you hit the brakes, you've got really soft brakes, weak brakes, or no brakes at all. So I need to take this adjuster out, flip it 180, and put it back together. Okay, I'm going to put on the bottom spring first. That one's not crazy tight to get on. Go ahead and get that on. It's going to hold the adjuster tight together. Now we will put in the top springs. So we're going to take our brake tool here, and you'll see on one of these handles here, it's got this little rounded over indent here. And what that's for is you take your spring here, and you put that indent inside on your pivot point up here. And now you should be able to winch this over. That spring's going to slide down. Oop, lost it there for a second. That spring's going to slide down your pliers and pop onto the spring retainer. I didn't quite get it. Let's try third time's charm. Oh, come on. Son of a biscuit. Okay, fourth time's the charm. I swear this is supposed to be easier than trying to do it with pliers. There we go. There we go. All right, so I got it on the first hook. That's actually not where I want it. I want it on the next notch back. So we're going to take our little handy dandy pliers here, turn that on behind it, and roll it back. There we go. There's one. That one went right where it needed to. Okay, now we're going to take our linkages for the retainer, the adjustment retainer down here. And I'm not going to push this adjuster out any more than I need to. I just want it at the kind of maximum, the minimum opening, so it's not putting any pressure on the shoes just yet. There we go. Okay, get him popped in. Now the other side I had to make an adjustment. Looks like I'm going to have to on this side as well. Because, oh no, that actually was working. All right, that's pretty much it. I mean, drum brakes, they're not as complicated as everyone wants to make them out to be. Typically, you have a pivot point, and the shoes are going to open and close, right? Your wheel cylinder is forcing your shoes out into the drums. So the wheel cylinder, hydraulic, you have your brake fluid hydraulically gets forced into your wheel cylinder. It's got two pistons that push outward, shoving the pads into the brake drum. These springs here are return springs. So when you release the brake pedal and that hydraulic fluid works its way back, the springs pull the shoes back away from the drums. On the bottom side is an adjuster. This thing pivots out when you brake, and how you adjust the bottom in and out opens and closes the circumference of your shoes here. So if you put your drums on and they can really turn freely, what you want to do is rotate out your adjuster until they just barely start to drag. Then you'll bleed your brakes, and then make sure that once you pump your brakes up, that they return and they're not dragging. If you need to, you can roll them back a little bit. You want just the slightest amount of drag on the drums when the brakes are not depressed. So that's pretty much it. All brake drums are some version of that. They're fairly straightforward. There's a lockout on the adjuster, your adjuster, a spring that holds your bottom of your shoes together, or 2 springs maybe down there, and then 2 springs at the top that are your return springs, your wheel cylinder, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the spindle cleaned up here. We're going to pack our bearings in the hub because we heated this up to get the drum off the first time. We melted all the grease out. So we need to repack the grease in the bearings and get the hub back on, and then we can finally get the brake drum back on, and we'll get our hose hooked back up here as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clean the old grease out of this hub. We melted most of it out of there. Not a lot left in there, but we want to get all the old stuff out. Now, if you were doing this on a daily driver or something like that, I'd pull the seal out and actually pull the bearing and repack the bearing and then put a new seal in. I don't have a new seal, so we're going to just do our best to pack this bearing while it's in there. It won't be perfect, but again, we're going to be putting a new clip on the front of this thing, so it'll be absolutely fine for the less than 50 miles this thing's probably going to get driven until that happens. This thing's not going to see any highway time. It is not even close to that type of roadworthy. I'm going to go ahead and spray some parts cleaner down inside this and try and clean some of the dirt and dust and grease and grime out of there. Same thing with this bearing. We're going to clean that up as well, and then we'll get this packed up with fresh grease. All right, I went ahead and I packed the bearings and I filled the hub plumb full of grease. So everything is all lubed up and ready to roll. Now I just need to tighten down my spindle nut here. So the way I like to do this is I like to be able to roll the hub and tighten down my spindle nut till I start to feel some resistance. And then I look at where I'm at, and I'm actually dead on I'm dead on where the cotter pin goes through the spindle here. So this is actually perfect. If I loosen it up, it'll be too loose. If I go the other direction, it'll be too tight. So this is just a little bit of resistance on the hub, not much at all. And we're going to get a cotter pin put in this, and then we can put our drum back on. So I'm going to get in here now and tighten this hose down for good. Snug it up from the other side here. Doesn't have to be crazy tight. All right, now I need to get my banjo bolt back in, and I got 2 copper washers, one on the bolt already and one that needs to go on the back side. Okay, now all I need to do is snug that down. I'm going to run this down, and then I'm going to crack the bleeders and let this thing gravity bleed while I work on something else. That's hoses and hardware on the front. All right, it's starting to get late. If I want to have a shot at driving this thing tomorrow, I'm gonna have to take a lap on the back brakes. Also, I'm just tired of messing with drum brakes right now. So I'm gonna switch it up, jump up in under the hood here, and while we let the front brakes gravity bleed, I'm gonna work on installing the carb and the carb spacer. Remember last time the accelerator pump was hitting on the manifold? It's actually really funny. I was watching Roadworthy Rescues, Derek on Roadworthy Rescues. I hadn't seen the episode yet where he did the Travelall. I think he rescued 2 cars at once. That might have been the T-Bird and the Travelall, where he pulled the T-Bird home with the Travelall. And he bought a 4-barrel carb to stick on that Travelall, and he had literally the exact same problem I had with my Holley 2-barrel, which is that the accelerator pump interferes with the intake manifold. So you got to space it up, otherwise it won't fit. So that's what we ran into the last time we tried working on the truck. I have a spacer, I have everything, the stud kit, everything I need to get that installed. So I'm going to go ahead and get that installed, see if we can get this thing fired up and running again. All right, picked up this carb spacer direct from Holley. So it should work. Boy, while I'm standing here, I see we got a bunch of vacuum lines blocked off with bolts and whatnot. I think I'm gonna go ahead and grab some actual plugs. I've got some here somewhere. Get those plugged up while I'm back here. Gasket. Nice. Good, very good. Yes, there we go. All right, that's going to resolve our interference issue. The next thing I needed to do, we didn't have a correct fuel inlet for this thing, so I got a new fuel inlet for the carb. For now, we're just going to run a soft line. All right, I'm going to get the fuel inlet replaced here. Okay, let's tighten down. Got my fuel line run down there. Hooked up. Get it cut up here. All right. Well, we got our fuel line hooked up. See if we can work on these linkages now. Check for fuel leaks here. Got none there. None there. Sick. All right, I'm just gonna turn my throttle up a hair. Let's see what that does. Yeah. Oh, come on. All right. The float level's good. Hell yeah. Timing should be pretty dialed in. We did that last time we were out here. This is great. I got to get the valve cover fixed. All this smoke is oil pouring out of this valve cover. Well, 2:30 in the morning, and Sweet Pea has gotten her revenge one more time. I got the truck running. Okay, no issues there. Everything looks really good. It runs great. It goes in and out of lifter noise. It needs an oil change. It needs a few other things. That's all well and good. I bled the master cylinder right at the truck here, right on the truck here. I'm getting fluid pumped. No issues there. I, for the life of me, cannot get fluid down to the drums. Now, I put new hoses on. There's a lot of air in the system. I know that. But no matter what I tried, I put vacuum on them. I can't get fluid down. I can't get fluid to leave the reservoir, no matter how much I pump. And I'm by myself, which is not, that's half the battle here. I'm having a heck of a time trying to bleed these brakes down. So I gotta call it a night. I'm exhausted. We're gonna have to come do this another weekend. But I guess the good news is the truck runs. Hey, let's fire it up one last time here. Show you guys just how good she runs. Okay. Don't make a liar out of me, Sweet Pea. Give her a pump or two here. Fires right up. She sounds pretty good, actually. It's got glass packs on it. There's holes all throughout the exhaust. It actually runs pretty darn good. That's not the problem anymore. Now we just got to figure out how to get her stopped. Big holes in the exhaust on that side. Brake line's blown out to the back. We got to get that fixed too. So, yeah. She runs good though. That's a plus. That's one thing checked off the list. Front brakes are assembled. We just need to get them bled. I need to run all new lines to the back. We need to rebuild this drum. The other drum I think is fine. We may end up doing them both. I don't know. But it's going to have to wait for another night. I am exhausted. I've been out here since 4 in the afternoon. It is now 2:30 in the morning. And I am whipped. So I'm going to call it a night. And you guys know what that means. That means if you do not work on your projects, they will not work on themselves. They will not fix themselves. I wish they would. So get out in the garage, get building, and I'll see you on the next episode of Cody Builds.